Okay, hi. Welcome to this week's reading vlog. So this week I've been doing the Scream Queens readathon hosted by my friends Hayley and Tay. Hayley is at the Villainous Reads on Instagram and Tay is at Tay's Dark Tales on Instagram. Both amazing people, go follow them. So this readathon is from the 8th of October to the 15th of October, and it has 5 different prompts that you can either do them all, you can do one, you can pick and choose depending on how much free time you have and access to books you have. I've decided to try and go for all of them and work off my physical TBR rather than buying new books. The only one I have bought a new book for is the group read, because I didn't already have that, and if I'm going to do any of the prompts, I'm going to do the group read. So the 5 prompts, we've got the group read, and then there's a horror book with red on the cover. Then you've got a translated horror. Then you can pick a cannibal/zombie book. And then there's, a witchy read. So I've picked a book for all 5 categories. We'll see if I can get to all the categories, but we'll see how we go. I think my first read of the readathon is going to be Broken Dolls by McKay Watson, because it's nice and short. It's just under 150 pages. And I feel like that will make me feel very accomplished and like I'm being very successful in this readathon, even though at this current stage I haven't even started. But we can just bash out one book, and like I said in my previous video, I really liked Them by McKay Watson, so I'm hoping I'll really like it and it can just be a fast-paced read. Because this is an extreme horror, there's, as always, warnings in the front of the book to go in with a lot of care and caution. If you have certain trigger warnings or you can't stomach certain things, I would be very wary, because this is extreme horror, unlike the other books on my TBR, which are just general horror and a bit more light-hearted, I would say. But we'll see if I like this one as much as I enjoyed them. The main character's daughter is called Tallulah, which makes me think of Tallulah from Bugsy Malone, but we get to bypass that because she's got a nickname Tully, and I'm assuming she's going to be called Tully for like the rest of the book, so we don't have to worry about the Tallulah thing. Unfortunately, I've seen Being Human UK, because the US version is trash, sorry not sorry, and there's a douchebag werewolf in there called Tully, and that's all I'm going to be thinking of when I read that. That's totally like a me thing. That's no like damage on the book, but that's what I relate the name to. Their neighbour has just turned up at their door and he's called James. A J name, my friends, a J name. James is a red flag. Calling it right now. Okay, I just finished Broken Dolls. No spoilers, but first of all, James, sorry I accused you, mate. Sorry, get a better name. I did enjoy this book. For the main like extreme horror scenes, I wasn't a big fan because there was a lot of like bodily fluids involved, and I'm just not very good at stomaching that kind of thing, but obviously I know that is typically a big thing used in extreme horror. What I did love, again no spoilers, but the ending was really well thought out in my opinion, and it really kind of, you don't expect where the book goes, at least I didn't, and to have such like a drastic turnabout in like under 150 pages was really good. I'm debating between a 3 and a 4 stars for this. I didn't enjoy this one as much as Them. Like, Them was an easy 5 stars for me, but I still enjoyed it. I have to think about my rating. I'm debating whether starting She's a Haunting next or The September House. Might start both because I've got The September House on my Kindle and She Is a Haunting as a physical read, and I typically can do both at the same time, so I might maybe read the first chapter of both and see which one I want to continue on with. I forgot to say as well before that this was for the prompt a horror book with red on the cover, which obviously you can see on this, there's a lot of red on the cover. And a little side note, every time I've looked at this book, I thought this woman had like a little mechanism on her head, kind of like a sorry kind of thing. It's just a man holding her head. That was just me imagining things. I thought it's just the guy's jeans, but I thought it was some sort of like mechanism on her head. Didn't look at the cover properly. Okay, so I didn't read a first chapter of both books. I started reading She is a Haunting, and it was so gripping that I'm on chapter 4. This book has such beautiful writing and such vivid imagery. Like, the author sets the scene beautifully, and it just got me hooked. So this book I chose for the prompt translated horror. Now, I've said this before, but I'm not actually sure if it's a translated horror. I've tried to Google it, and a lot of the search results say translated, but I'm not actually sure if it is translated. I know it's written by a Vietnamese author, but because I was going off my physical TBR, I've kind of just said this will have to do for the prompt. It's like full of Vietnamese culture and all that, and I'm just making it work. And it's quite nice because she's spattered in some like Vietnamese language in there, so I'm calling it good with that. Also, I really like the main character's attitude. So the main character is called Jade, and in her like bedroom, she's gone to go stay with her dad in Vietnam, and in her bedroom there's lots of like dead insects on the side, and she's like, nice to have a visual of my ideal temperament, dead inside and unbothered. Like, she has my exact same humour, so we're gonna get on great. Of the Scream Queens readathon. I am still reading She is a Haunting. I think I got to like page 70 or something like that. I'm a good chunk of the way through, but I want to make more progress today. I'm really enjoying it so far. So the basic plot is the main character Jade has gone back to Vietnam, which is where her family's from, but she's never felt like she belonged there because she's half Vietnamese and half American. And she's gone to stay with her dad, who she doesn't get along with because he like walked out on the family when she was little, I believe. And the only reason she's gone to stay with him is because he's offering to give her money, which I'm not quite sure why she needs the money, what she's going to use it for, but she's gone for the money. That's the only reason she's agreed to go there. But weird stuff starts happening in the house. Like, there's lots of dead insects around. She starts having sleep paralysis, and there's like a ghost that shows up. So I think it's just going to be like, the plot is just going to be her like dealing with all the like hauntings in this house, but we'll see how that turns out. I also want to start The September House by Carissa Orlando today, because people are already talking about it in the Discord group chat, and I want to be in the know. Like, I want to be able to know what everyone's talking about, and I don't want to get spoilers either, because I'm very like strict about that. I'm like, don't say anything. So I might start that later. I think to begin with, I'm going to carry on with She is a Haunting, just because I'm already into that story, and I feel like I want to be a bit more of a chunk of the way through before I get into a new story. I don't have an issue juggling books and juggling stories. Like, I always have at least 2 on the go at one go. But I think because I'm trying to get them done for the readathon, I want to have a good chunk of the way through before I start a new one. Hate the father in this book. We've already established that he's a shit father, like we knew that from page 1, but the main character Jade, his daughter, has just like accidentally sliced her hand on a knife, and her sister's like running off to get things to help clean her up, and her dad just like stands there and is like, "You just gonna stand there crying?" What an absolute douchebag. I hope he gets got. That's the goal for this book. Get the dad got. I just love the writing of this book. Like, it is so beautifully written, even though it's a horror. Like, you can just get lost in the writing, even though it's describing something less desirable. So here's like a little paragraph where Jade, the main character, like runs into one of the ghosts. A thick centipede crawls from the last hydrangea bouquet in Cam's hands. Hundreds of brown legs scutter quickly over broken branches for an escape, but it runs over skin. Sitting by the fireplace, the canvas of bone white behind her, Cam dangles it over her mouth by one end. Like, oh, what a vivid image. And even though it's like disgusting, like there's insects like crawling and she's dangling one by her mouth, it is still like a beautiful description of it. The way the author describes insects in the food, I can promise you I'm never eating again. Never eating again. Like, there's something about the way this author creates a visual image that just crawls into your skin. Like, this is just so beautifully written, but immensely disturbing. I'm over 200 pages into She Is a Haunting, and I'm really enjoying it, but I think I'm going to start the September house because I want to be in the know. Everyone else in the readathon is messaging the like group chat about like their thoughts on what's happening, and they're posting it in the like different chapter sections of the chat, but I'm still getting the notifications, and like, could I just not read them? Yeah, but I'm nosy, and if the message is coming up, I'm gonna read it, but I also hate spoilers. So to save myself from myself, I think I'm just gonna start the book, to be honest, because I'm too nosy. I can't just ignore the notifications. I need to be in the know. It's my own like downfall. I've read the prologue and like 9 pages of chapter 1 of the September house, and instantly these 2 main characters, the husband and wife, are very intellectually challenged. They're being shown around in the prologue. They're being shown around by their estate agent, and she's literally being like, there have been like multiple deaths here, and they're just like wistfully looking around like, oh, that's fine, it was so long ago, like this is our dream house. And like, it's not a reason not to get a house, but maybe, you know, make note of that. Maybe, you know, don't be, oh, that's where we can have our tea. So instant like, what are you doing? And then chapter 1 opens up with, the walls are bleeding again. This is to be expected. It is, after all, September. We've just had September, babes. I don't remember my house bleeding. Like, why are we talking about this as if it's a normal thing? you haven't adapted that fast. And it goes through, like, so they've been living at this house for 4 years at this stage, literally on page 9, so it's not really a spoiler. And the wife goes through that the first year the walls bled in September, she was mostly concerned that she wouldn't be able to clean the wallpaper and that the wallpaper would be ruined forever. Now, I know everyone's different, but my concern would be, why are my walls bleeding? She doesn't seem to even question, like, why is this happening? She's like, not the wallpaper, babes, not the wallpaper. So I am questioning these characters and their decision making, but I do really like the cool imagery of, like, just every September the house bleeds, and then in October it's like refresh. So I'm enjoying that so far. I flipped back to She's Haunting just because I was missing the story and I'm so close to finishing it that I just wanted to read more of it. But in the, like, backstories of the ghosts and stuff, they start talking about, like, referencing, it's very, very brief, but they reference, like, the Vietnam War and napalm. And even though that was, you know, a horrific part of history, very tragic, and, you know, it was a war, that was always one of my favourite things to learn about in history. I was always fascinated with the Vietnam War and the Korean War in particular. Like, they were always my favourite things to just learn more about. I found it fascinating learning all of the things. So the fact that there's, like, little bits of references in here is, like, very interesting to me. And it really, like, this book feels very highly cultured. Like, it's filled with Vietnamese culture, which I'm not very, like, versed in, but it's really nice to read. I've just finished She Is a Haunting, and honestly, 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it so much. I was hoping I would because the cover is stunning, but it really held up the entire way through because I thought it would drop near the end or in the middle. I think the only thing I haven't really, like, said about this book is that I really like that the main character Jade is bisexual and she has a sapphic romance, like, a little bit in the background of this novel, and it goes through her struggling to come out and accept who she is with her family and her culture. But I also like that it's not a big part of the plot. Like, it's a very important part of who she is, but it's done in a very subtle way where it's a back burner to the horror, which I really liked because it's not making a big deal out of it. But there was still that discussion in the book. But yeah. So the main character's daughter is going to come stay with them at the house, and she's trying to decide what room to put her in, because each room has, like, a ghost or a different, like, oddity in it, and there's, like, 3 options of rooms she can go in, and the mother settles on the room with the ghost of the murderer of some of the other ghosts. Now, she does explain that this ghost doesn't do anything and, like, doesn't move, but why would you take the chance? When she was listing off the list of rooms, I was like, well, that room's out, because it's got the ghost of a literal murderer in there. But no, once again, I'm questioning these characters' decisions. I finished the September house, and I haven't updated much while I've actually been reading it, because I just flew through it. 5 stars. Like, it was such a good read. I don't want to say too much about it because I feel like everything could be a spoiler, but I do like near the end something is revealed, and to help the people around her cope with this revelation, the main character is like, I should really make them a cup of tea. They need a cup of tea to get through this ordeal. And I'm like, I love that for her, because tea is life. She's correct. I got sidetracked and I binged Ward D by Frida McFadden. This wasn't for the readathon, it wasn't for any prompts, but I had an urge, and I don't know what Frida puts in her books, I don't know what drugs she's pumping into them, but I've read 4 so far, and all of them I've read in one sitting, and all of them I've given 5 stars. Phenomenal. But once I finished that and I could move on with my life again, I picked up The Royal Street Witch again. I initially, in the very first, 4 pages, I was really struggling to get into the story. And then page 5, the hottie vampire shows up. And then from there, we're free sailing. I'm hooked. You've got me. So really enjoying this so far. Going to make some more progress with this now and just see what happens. It's the end of the readathon. I was working Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so I didn't manage to get much reading done. I did binge The Inmate by Frida McFadden on my Kindle because I am obsessed with Frida's works at the moment. But that wasn't for any readathon prompts. So technically throughout the readathon time, I have read 5 books, but only 3 have been for the actual readathon. But I still think that's pretty good. But let me know if you've read any of the books that I've read this week, or if you have any spooky recommendations.